largest convoy ever taken to Russia is feeling its way through the danger belt north of Scandinavia.
70 years ago, the first of 78 convoys set sail. They were carrying food, fuel, ammunition and vital equipment to a desperate Russia. Now, those convoys were largely successful. Some 4 million tons of goods were delivered, but the success came at a cost. Of the 66,000 men that set sail on the convoys, 3,000 died, making it the deadliest maritime campaign of the war.
92-year-old veteran Eddie Grenfell survived his ship, the SS Empire Lawrence, being bombed 5 times.
We were in the lifeboat and the explosion went upwards, and the blast must have, it didn't damage the lifeboat, it just blew it up in the air. And I went up in the air with it, and I came down into the sea, and I was down very, very deep. And my lungs were bursting. And suddenly there was a bubble of air came up from somewhere and shot me and the few survivors to the surface.
Dick Dykes sailed 16 convoys, more than anyone else alive today, and had the job of rescuing survivors of the SS Lowther Castle.
It was getting bad. The ship was on fire. Fire was getting worse. The sea was on fire from the damaged fuel. And of course we were machine gunned from the air, and the Germans didn't leave the ship alone, even though it was pretty obvious it was sinking.
Some of the convoy ships carried aircraft on deck, which were catapulted into the skies to take on the Germans before ditching into the icy seas to await rescue. Nicknamed suicide flights, they claimed many young lives. HMS Belfast was a convoy escort ship and carried 3 catapult aircraft. In temperatures of -20 Celsius, conditions on deck were appalling.
It was a chap by the name of Jim Harrison, and he worked in this turret here, which is what we call a turret, and he was making his way to that turret, and during the Arctic Convoys he removed his glove, ready to open up the door, grabbed hold of the handle, and a rogue wave, which we call a gopher, come over on this port side here and smashed into him. And if it hadn't been for his hand freezing to the metalwork because it was so cold, he would have been washed over the side.
But the men of the Royal and Merchant Navies weren't alone in delivering the supplies Russia needed to keep the Nazis at bay. The RAF's 151 wing supplied 3,000 British Hawker Hurricanes to Russia and taught their airmen how to use them. They saw firsthand the dangers the convoys faced.
We went off down the Norwegian coast. The skipper took us up a fjord, which is unbelievably narrow, to a place called Vardø, and did a bombardment of the radar station and refueling depot there.
We put 366-inch shells into there in a few minutes, and you could see the cars and buildings going up in matchwood. By this time, of course, they were firing back at us and the shells going over the top. I was more scared then than I ever was flying.
70 years since the convoys began, the veterans have yet to receive a campaign medal from the British government. But a new independent inquiry into their cause has begun. Whether the dwindling band of veterans gets its reward remains to be seen.